Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, December 1st. The month is over. I achieved the amazing rank of rank 20. Since I didn't really care, it gave me a rank 18 chest, which means I probably did get up to 18 just in random rank play. We've got a new card back we can look at. We got 15 gold, 15 dust, and some gold. 7 bonus stars, which puts us back down to rank 22, which we'll try to get back to rank 20 so we get those card backs, and that's about it. I have to get everything done today. Trade that out. So, 5 games with the Major Shaman. 5 games with the Druid or Rogue, 10 games in any class. Maybe somebody would be really nice and play me online and help me win these victories. The expansion we now know comes out on the 7th, so I'll try to stream on that day and we look at all the cards. We may be able to even do some extra things. Let's see. So even getting just one new card has gotten to the point where it doesn't work to try and find that card. So we dusted that. Here's our new thing. We'll make that our favorite. Let's hop to it. We don't need to do the Tavern Brawl. We might find that it's easier to do the Tavern Brawl, but maybe not. Let's start with a Druid and do that. Druid Helper or Pirate's Druid or Custom Druid. We'll start with Custom Druid and forward we go. So a lot of news. I'm starting maybe 50 minutes late if my goal is to start at 4 o'clock in the evening. And it's a Friday show, so Friday shows usually are pretty empty for viewers. However, that being said, we are in the December slump in which there are really no new games, and there are no well, there's not a lot to talk about because there's no new games. It seems like this custom Druid deck might be just a deck I built to play Druid cards. If that's the case, I should delete it. That way I know what I have an empty space to build decks when necessary to accomplish similar goals. See, maybe if I just play this immediately. And then play this.
Job's done.
Oops. Didn't even read that card. Alright, I'm starting on Twitter today looking at everything just to see if I can get any more. Yep, this deck's not gonna win unless I'm really lucky. With the news of the new expansion and some other news that doesn't really relate to my channel, I'm proven to even be, I'm gonna be even busier for the rest of the year. I imagine I'll find some time to do the card expansion. Maybe on Wednesday if the cards are visible, or I will just probably start checking every day starting today to see if we can look at the cards. And if we can spend the time looking at the cards in one live stream, then I can break up that footage and re-release it and not have to stream for an entire day to look at cards and do deck rebuilds and do card pack openings. Ideally, I could look at the cards a day before they're available and then do the card pack opening videos, which there will be a significant amount of card pack opening videos that happens. I think what we'll do on the European and Asian accounts is open 50 packs of classic cards to see how far ahead that gets us and if that makes those accounts more playable now. And then on the main account, we may very well just buy 50 packs of the new expansion. Well, at the very least, we need to buy 10 packs of the new expansion so that we get one guaranteed legendary for each of them. So we will, I suppose, gamble. Paladins players are angry because a new loot box based progression system has been added to that game, which is odd because Paladins was one of those games that was trying really hard, to get people to play it, and right now in the middle of the loot box controversy of Battlefront 2, they're announcing this. Maybe they were attempting to hide the information. EA is still very much in the middle of the loot box controversy because more EA games are full of loot boxes as they're coming out. So, I mean, clearly that's what Electronic Arts wants. So Paladins, I think, is another Overwatch type MOBA game. One that I don't have to pay too much attention to because I'm not going to ever play those games. I'm not likely to play those games. This is a lost cause of here's an article that says Telltale's move to PBS, shifting technologies and practices. This is an interesting phrase because I don't know what PBS means in this case, whether it means the Public Broadcasting Service, which is the semi-government funded but not really funded by the government public TV station, or if it means something completely different, because when it comes to technology, the acronyms are plentiful. One of the things I have been noticing is that the Walking Dead has a new collection out, and it looks completely redrawn. At the very least, every scene has different shaders. It's much darker and less cartoony. Let's see. Over the course of a few months, the engine for Telltale was the engine's renderer was overhauled with new graphical features such as volumetric fog support, The entirely new diffuse model, more advanced mesh outlines, adoption of a physically based model GGX. So I need to get rid of this custom druid thing. And improved, entirely overhauled lighting. That's certainly noticeable. And improved post-processing. So here's the title. Adopting GGX PBS took more time than anticipated.
Malfurion versus Anduin.
So I'm very surprised here that they've
the
even
wild.
gotten this far, because the I thought they were much closer to just the beginning of improving their engine. And it's not just their graphics part of their engine. They also need to improve their gameplay part, so it can handle more things than just picking dialogue choices. Even if that is going to be the main idea of your games, throwing in a puzzle every now and then. I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider right now. In fact, I am so many hours into it, and I'm just barely, I'm still probably like 30 minutes away from getting away from the first major area. So there's probably only 3 major areas in the entire game, and I know I'm going to come back to that first major area at some point and do cleanup.
Not quite well planned.
So,
Job's done.
I forgot what point I was trying to make there. Let's see. Here's a quote. Without reading this whole article, here's a quote. The tipping point came in near the end of Batman's launch. We needed to have a good view on what our material settings were. Thanks to the nature of Maya, which is the 3D animating software, and its DirectX 11 plugin, which they should be programming into DirectX 12 at this point, not DirectX 11. It's possible to query a Maya scene, every material setting and texture input. Yeah, it seems like they're still very focused on fixing a few things, and there's still a lot of work. And now I've remembered the point. In Rise of the Tomb Raider, after you solve tombs, you walk up to a box, effectively, that you open. Now the tombs in Rise of the Tomb Raider, much like the Tomb Raider reboot, aren't difficult at all. They're disappointingly easy. And for that reason, it feels very appropriate that when you walk up to this box, there should be a sliding tile puzzle, a combination, some kind of lock, even a lock-picking minigame. Something that puts more gameplay into the game, because Rise of the Tomb Raider is pretty awful about stretching things out in very bad ways, and also in the same instance of not doing a good job of giving the player any feeling of like entertainment or interaction. It takes control away from you way too much. And there are points where you lockpick in the game, but you just hold X to lockpick. No lockpicking minigame. There are points where you, instead of lockpicking, you'll just break blocks with your pickaxe, which has you tap X. So all they're willing to let you do as far as the interaction is to either hold X or tap X. And then there are into the tombs where you just walk up to the thing and it automatically does it. I hope I'm doing this right. And that counted. There's been a bug for a while now where only the one of multiple completions towards a goal gets shown.
Malfurion versus Anduin.
So, that's certainly been an issue.
Victory.
I must protect the wild.
So, yeah, it's kind of amazing that they're even this far, but it's also slightly concerning. Well, maybe Telltale will say, well, that's good enough. Well, the only real issue, I think, is the DirectX 11 plugin issue, but that might be a Maya issue too. Moving on, Persona 5 has now sold over 2 million copies worldwide, despite itself, in the sense that it that they stopped a lot of people streaming Persona 5. The Atlas Japan branch did.
Once upon a time.
There's an interesting couple things with YouTube. I guess we can cover this. YouTube advertisers, which I started following on Twitter because I wanted to see what they were telling the advertisers versus what they were telling the YouTube creators, which honestly it is pretty different. Divine Shield. Stealth until next turn. Stealth until next turn sounds real good to me. And let's play this. And so YouTube advertisers retweeted this video of I think it's a girl trying to put eggs in like an aquarium or snails in the aquarium, snail shells, and it keeps cutting to the silhouette of a parent just throwing the snail shells away, and the little girl just looking sad every time.
The light protects
And then
me.
at the end it says just get a dog. Which, okay. And it's for an animal rescue, but it's slightly controversial. The more controversial thing certainly is that YouTube Creator Insider, which is a YouTube channel from one of the people high up in YouTube, snuck in an announcement that they had said you couldn't get into the partner program if you didn't have, I believe it's 10,000 views, which is fine for me. I have nearly, I think, 200,000 views at this point. I haven't checked in a while, honestly, but however, at nearly 200,000 views, I also have an incredibly small amount of subscribers. So if it changes ever from you need 1,000 subscribers to the point where I can no longer be in the partner program, which I already am, that would mean I can no longer monetize my videos, and I would have to consider doing something completely different. This certainly would become a hobby, and I would almost certainly stop streaming as much. Just to be honest.
Your opponent left.
But so they said no new people, no partner program, no more people that can monetize. Basically, you might be able to sign up with some other like middle manager and still do that, but yeah, I am getting victories. So this is working. It's just not telling me that it's working. Until you have 10,000 views, which puts a heavy burden on new creators. Like, getting your first 10,000 views is going to be the hardest ever. But the thing that they snuck in is they're now retroactively applying that. So they announced it kind of secretly, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And now if you haven't in that 3 or 4 months time frame gotten over 10,000, well, now you're going to get kicked out of the partner program. This unfortunately really doesn't fix the Elsa Gate issue, which is becoming more prevalent and talked about issue. PewDiePie was talking about it just, I think, today. Because as far as it seems, those Elsa Gate channels are owned and partnered and have the access to the Content ID system. So they are way up and in business with YouTube. Like, YouTube knows these people. YouTube have seen more paperwork from them than a normal YouTube content creator if they have access to the Content ID system. So there was definitely some multi-layer network that got in big business to get into the Content ID system, to the point where you can't get into that. Like, there's no application form, as far as I know. I don't think there is, to get into Content ID, which means there's...
You love my new recipe.
There's some major shenanigans
For the wild.
and they're gonna try and... They're working on getting rid of all of that, but I mean, they should have been so much faster on that. Clearly, it wouldn't be hard to ban all of those accounts and shut them all down, and shut down so many other things. The Elsa Gate thing also is getting merged into several different issues that are separate. Like, they've already, it seems, implemented a new system where they are censoring comments on YouTube videos site-wide. So if there's a video of a normal video that, say, some not very well-informed parent put up of their kids, where creepy people would put creepy messages. Maybe it's a troll, but in this case, I don't even think it's trolling. I think it's just creepy people putting up creepy messages on the videos. But see, that doesn't have anything to do with the content creator, usually, unless the content creator is inviting those styles and those types of messages, which that might be something to look at too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we got down to the point where anyone who looked underage was just automatically blurred or blocked on YouTube. Any live action footage of any underage child just automatically blurred out in an effect to
For the wild.
maintain their privacy and just get rid of content like that. That would really ruin things like that toy reviewing site where the kid opens toys and such, but I'll get down to that one. But see, that's not Elsa Gate. The Elsa Gate stuff is when a content creator is making inappropriate content. I can't control what's put on my comments, other than the fact that I can I can eventually block them. Once I see them.
For the wilds.
And I would hate for it to get down to the point, and this is the fear, is that people might get demonetized for the comments that other people put in their channel. That would be completely unfair and open to abuse. Moving on with video game news, since we threw in some YouTube news there. For the most part, YouTube is not doing anything special. They did roll out the Twitter-like chat things if you have over 10,000 subscribers. I don't have 10,000 subscribers, nor do I think this Twitter thing is going to really work that well as it's implemented right now. So you may have noticed now that in your subscription feed you're seeing comments and text posts, most of which are just people saying, hey, I've got this new feature now. They were talking about doing this for nearly a year, and it's taken this long to decide to finally allow it. And maybe people will calm down and stop using it, except for when it really needs to be used. But we'll see. Video game news though. DayZ is going to leave early access next year, which I think we may have already heard that. It's been in development at least 2012, and they put out a development roadmap in 2015, so I don't think I would hold my breath for it to actually come out. Let's do this.
For the wild.
The Switch topped online sales charts during the Thanksgiving weekend. Not super surprising there. So, the US Thanksgiving on the 23rd through the Saturday of the 26th. 80% well, yeah, the Switch did really good, just to generalize that. Yeah, and no surprise there, with Mario Odyssey, everybody wants a Switch. I want a Switch, even though I couldn't stream any of the videos. At this point, Metroid Prime looks like it's actually going to come out. Mario Odyssey is already out, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. On the other hand, there's also, I think, a Mario Kart for the Switch. The next Pokemon is certainly going to be on the Switch.
I must protect the wild.
You could play ARMS, you can play Splatoon, and there's a lot of indie games on the Switch. Switch is not the greatest piece of hardware, of course, but it's got the games and it's got enough draw now. The Division 1.8 update is coming next week. They're getting dangerously close to a 2.0 update. This update will bring new player versus player and player versus enemy modes, or PvE. I guess that's player versus enemy, or player versus event. And a revamp Underground and Rogue 2.0. Now, the Division, I was thinking that about the Division and if anybody was still playing it, and I guess they're trying to make it a good game still. It honestly was released at least a year too early. The 2.0 update was probably when it should have come out, and if they pushed it back to coming out right now, that probably would have worked rather nicely. Like, there's nothing coming out in December, so if you just said that this game called The Division, that's a online only event, came out now, that was probably too far for their accountants to let them push it, but it probably would have gotten a lot more interest. And as I understand it, the Division is based around the Christmas event. So, like a terrorist event that happened during Christmas, where they put some kind of like poison or something on large amounts of money. There you go. Wind Fury. No Wind Fury. We'll take this.
I fight.
Instead. Sadly, though, right now I don't see any reason why I want to play the Division or recommend anybody else play it. There's a game called Anamorphine that launches January 16th. Let's see what this is about. Play that video. This looks like it might be a walking simulator / horror game. I'm seeing a room that has been broken into, and there's a large mess, and then there's some kind of glowing balls that were items that I picked up, or the player picked up, and let's see.
The scourge will devour all.
Wind Fury, seriously. Give me some Wind Fury over here. Yes, this game looks sort of like a Gone Home, but in a brighter environment, and you're clicking on things and moving things around. And here's an actual person. And there's some like glowing elements. Alright, wait a minute. Skipped ahead in the trailer, which tells me that the trailer's not that interesting. They click on a bunch of bottles, and then the bottles magnetize to a TV, and then it turns into a portal to a desert world. And as soon as you walk through the portal, you're riding a bicycle. Like, this game is crazy. Let's see.
The scourge will devour all.
If I get Wind Fury on one, Divine Shield. Done. So, I'm not familiar with the effects of morphine, but this almost feels like a game where you're walking around a house on morphine or something. This whole house seems to be changing. Like now the kitchen has an incredibly tall shelf. So maybe this is a game that, let's see, what is it? A surreal environmental without text and language that changes to a fantastic voice to represent the protagonist's inner feelings. Combat for gameplay, story-rich setting. What's funny here is they're saying it's a story-rich setting exploring an evolving relationship, but then it's a surreal environment without text or language. How can it be story-based when there's no text or language? I guess you could visually tell a story. I guess that's what they're saying.
Malfurion
that was an interesting one. And yet, I just closed
None can escape my fury.
I must protect the wild.
Like, what? I just immediately closed that tab, so with no interest at all to follow up on that and see if it's on Steam or not. So, that just tells you how unimportant games have become with so many being released. It's coming out for the PS4 and PC on January 16th for $20 by the developer Artifact 5, which I've never heard of. So get some actual facts in my news reporting there. This the game The Sexy Brutale is headed to a Nintendo Switch, and even though it has that name, it's I don't think it's actually that sexy a game. It is brutal because you have this time traveling abilities and people are getting murdered and you're trying to prevent murders. It's apparently coming out December 7th. It's an interesting game that I certainly want to get around to playing. I'm not sure if it particularly benefits any by being on the Switch, but fair enough. Let's see. The voice actor Ashley Birch will return to Life is Strange Before the Storm in a bonus episode. I've not been very interested in Life is Strange Before the Storm. I haven't seen a lot of people interested in it, but they are once again kind of working with Ashley Birch, using her as a voice actor from the original Life is Strange game to
The scourge will devour all.
They're bringing back her talent and her name, and you don't see a lot of that. Video games using the voice actor's name as a way of trying to make more sales, but they did certainly here.
Ha, this guy's toast.
I suppose in my interpretation of it, she was part of SAG-AFTRA's voice actors strike while they were making Life is Strange Before the Storm. They hired non-union workers, and they had her consult or at least talk to the management that they were striking against, which is a clear union violation, and I think she probably got in trouble behind the scenes. She should have. And then the makers of the game used the fact that she talked to him to say she had given her blessing, or she had consulted on the game even though she wasn't working on it. Maybe she is actually rather passionate about the game and did want to be involved even in the middle of the strike, which just again makes her a bad union member who doesn't understand that the value and the power of a strike is that you don't communicate or work for people while you're trying to get some improved wages or work conditions. So it doesn't get reported that way, but honestly she's kind of, I don't want to say a bad guy, but she's kind of a bad union member. You can't say that. Bad member of SAG-AFTRA. If I was running SAG-AFTRA, I would make a very public display of penalizing her somehow, or kicking her out of the union or something.
For the wild.
But apparently she's not blacklisted or anything. As for Life is Strange Before the Storm, yeah, not much to say. Doesn't seem like it's that interesting of a game. I didn't even like the original Life is Strange. I know some people did, but even the people that did haven't been saying much about this. Life is Strange is another one of those games that was overhyped by the likes of of people
We will devour this world.
such as Giant Bomb and other channels like that, where I was listening to too few sources, and I still am probably listening to too few sources as far as video game reviews, but I am trying to expand out and get more voices and more different people to see what the zeitgeist is and what the general feeling is for different games.
The light protects me. We will devour this world.
For the wild.
I'm gonna use here. There's a game called 7 The Days Long Gone that's being reviewed by PC Gamer. I have no clue if their reviews mean anything.
The shadows.
It looks like an
beckon.
isometric RPG, and because of that, I'm not really interested, so I'm just gonna close this page. They gave it an 81, but that doesn't, out of 100, but that doesn't mean anything.
Down, I'm a doctor.
So Minecraft has released, Mojang, Creative Minecraft has
Thank
released a new game just out the blue called Cobalt.
Thank you.
Check out our new game, Cobalt WASD, celebratory Minecraft textures included.
You incur my wrath.
And it looks like it's a 2D team-based game with explosives that stop time. Looks like a 2D version of Minecraft, but I don't think it originally does look that way. I think you have to use the Minecraft textures.
You incur my wrath.
At this rate, we'll be at rank 20 rather quickly. Yeah, looking at the original game, it is a 2D platformer where you're fighting other enemies with guns using a mouse, which doesn't look like it's a very good control system. There seems to be some sort of
Malfurion versus
grid-based squares,
hunt
which might be
begin.
explosions.
I must
but
protect
no,
the
those are
wild.
explosions. So very, very different game, and I suppose it's always worth pointing out that Mojang isn't the Mojang of before, because there's just no Notch there. Notch. It would be very surprising if Notch worked on this game in secret and then gave it to Mojang to publish and sell. I don't think he would do that, but maybe he would, just to stay out of the having to deal with people who like his game. But this doesn't look like it's made by the same person that made Minecraft at all. This looks a lot different, but it's made specifically for free. Let's see, it costs $7, but you get the but folks who were alpha testers on the original Cobalt get it for free. So if you're an alpha tester for Cobalt, again I hadn't even heard of,
For the wild.
you get it for free. It'll be on Steam. I suppose it's worth checking out just because it's from the same company that made Minecraft, but really just in a way to say, boy, is this different. Darkest Dungeon has a mod for boss rush mode, and according to PC Gamer, it's the hardest quest you'll ever play. Yeah, I imagine that's not going to work too well. And let's see, 23 bosses in a row, I imagine.
What?
Without any of the elements of gameplay that would have made you upgrade your abilities or your characters in between those bosses. Let's see. Kotaku is a weird one. I don't read it, so but it seems like different people have completely different things that they put on Kotaku, and this is a very odd interest because there's a guy named Luke Plunkett who's based out of Canberra, Australia, who has
For the wild.
put a
Job's done.
they put a just collection of a cosplayer cosplaying a Persona 5 character, and I can't even go to their site without it crashing. There's clearly some kind of ad or spyware or something trying to install itself on from Kotaku. But it seems so odd that you have a it's not very risque cosplay. It certainly is cosplay that is lewd, of at least a little bit lewd, which is a phrase I'm trying to resolve to use more of. To describe games. But then also it seems like Kotaku is usually the source that says crazy things like, oh, this game objectifies women. They're a bunch. I thought they were a bunch of social justice warriors at Kotaku, so I'm confused now. I guess I'll have to figure that out later. There's a game that's out on smartphones in Japan called Shin Harayagami Blind Man Chapter. There's not really much to say about it. It's the first chapter in a series of chapters that are going to come out one per month until April, which then it was originally released for PlayStation 3 and PS Vita in Japan in 2014. So apparently this one just never came over to the West, and it still doesn't seem like it's coming over the West. But it is an interesting transition to take the game from a PlayStation 3 and Vita era and improve upon it in the fashion of sending it to a cell phone. You would say a game like this would get a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro release. The Four Night Princesses training story has been delayed to March 8th in Japan. So I have tried to figure out what that game is. It's, I believe, 3 different styles of gameplay, with the one predominantly being through the RPG elements. But I'm not willing to spend any more time trying to determine. Let's see. If I do this.
For the wild.
There's a Steam weekend sale for the Binding of Isaac Cave story. That's the Binding of Isaac Rebirth is $10 at 33% off, which I think is great. That's one of the games I'd love somebody to gift me, particularly since I'd love to play more of it, but I'd have to start over on my new account, so I wouldn't want to make footage of that unless I streamed it instead of like Hearthstone. And this channel certainly would change a lot if I started just streaming every day or nearly every day. I don't think I could really
For the
stay up with
wild.
that schedule. Let's see. The $24 Binding of Isaac complete Rebirth complete bundle would be what I'd like to buy. Unfortunately, I'm, like I said last time, so over budget for the Christmas holidays. Cave Story is at $10. Cave Story Plus. The End is Nigh is on sale, and 1001 Spikes is $10. I don't know if I'd want to pay $10 for 1001 Spikes. That's too difficult a game. Let's see, give a minion plus 2. Draw a card.
Job's done.
End of the turn. If I survive till the next turn, I've won. Let's see. Why did I end up on somebody's Instagram photos? What was the thing about that? Nope, no explanation whatsoever on why I ended up on somebody's Instagram photos. Sometimes I think I just clicked the wrong links. Alright, well, we're not doing horrible here. There's a need to get 2 more Druid or Rogue victories, so I guess we'll switch over and try some Rogue victories, and then Mage and Shaman victories, which we'll do some of that, and then eventually I think we'll have to go to the post show for some of the other stuff, because I'm gonna start to run out of news probably in the next recording. But that's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.